Hello and welcome to the Petticoated Swashbuckler. My name is Maren, and today, true to the name, is about the petticoat. So if you hear funny noises, it's my cat. He walks in and out. He gets really grumpy if I try to close the door. Try and ignore him. So I don't think I'm the only person in the world to have had this like princess dream when I was a child. I remember, I grew up with the Princess Diaries movies. I remember being very, feeling very kind of related to Mia Thermopolis, this unpopular curly-haired girl. I remember being very disappointed that Julie Andrews never showed up to tell me that I'm the long-lost princess to some weird European country. She didn't. So as an adult, I'm gonna have to make my own princess dreams come true. And one of the ways I do that is by attending balls. I have attended a couple of balls in the past. I've attended a couple of opera balls. I made these very cool opera ball outfits with my friend Torun last winter. I've attended the opera ball once before. I have attended a Victorian ball in Bath. I attended an 18th century or sort of late 18th, early 19th century ball in Oslo last spring. And it's just, I enjoy them so much. It's so much fun. They're so cool. It's just like being part of a different world for a couple of hours, and it's magical. And this November I'm attending a ball in Sweden, and this time the ball is themed a Jugend ball. Now Jugend or Jugendstil is German for youth style, and it came from a German magazine called Die Jugend, or the Youth. It's also known as Art Nouveau in French, and that's also the most common name for it in English. In Italian, it's called Style Liberty, after the English fashion house Liberty & Co., which is quite fun. It's called, probably going to pronounce this very wrongly, but either Sekesha or Młoda Polska in Polish. Sorry for butchering Polish. I don't speak that language. It's called Modernismo, or even Catalan Modernismo in Spanish. And in Danish, it's called Skønvirke, which basically means beautiful work, which I love. So loads of different words for this style. But it was a reaction to the kind of academic arts of the late 1800s, where, you know, it was an attempt to combine art and craft in a way, art and the sort of fine arts like painting or sculpture, and applied art like furniture or wallpaper or fashion. It's very organic. It's got loads of like vines and wavy, flowery patterns. I remember being told once that it was, if you combine it to like the Art Deco, which is what we think of as the 1920s, 1930s, Art Nouveau or Jugend is made by the elves in The Lord of the Rings, and Art Deco is made by the dwarves in The Lord of the Rings, which for like a fantasy nerd like me, that just makes so much sense and I love it. It was inspired by a Czech artist called Alfons Mucha, or Mucha. I'm not quite sure, don't speak Czech either, sorry. He made a poster for a play called Gismonda in Paris in 1895, was starring Sarah Bernard of cake fame. The play was by Victorien Sardou, and just everything about it, the play, the actress, the art on the poster, everything just became major hits at once. It was super popular, and it really took off and spread throughout the Western world. And it was he again, which I was very inspired by an English guy called William Morris, who founded what's often called the arts and crafts movement. And he wanted to kind of move away from the mass-produced industrial way that arts and furniture and fashion, and he's very famous for his wallpapers. I'm sure you have seen William Morris patterns around because they are super popular and they're very, very beautiful. It was very popular in Europe. It was very popular in the US. The Norwegian kind of version of this style, and I am Norwegian, was very inspired by Germany and Austria, which is also why it's called Jugend in Norway and in Sweden, because we got it from the German-speaking part of Europe, whereas English got it, or England got it from the French-speaking part of Europe. That's why it's Jugend in Scandinavia and Art Nouveau in England. If you want to experience Norwegian Jugend architecture, you can do that. The city of Ålesund on the western coast of Norway burnt down in 1904, and it was rebuilt at kind of the height of the popularity of the Jugend style. So there are so many gorgeous examples of Jugend buildings in Ålesund. So if you ever go there, have a look around. It's really, really nice. Now the ball that I'm attending, they have kind of set that the time period that they're going for is from 1897 to 1907. And I really wanted to focus on like 1905, and there's a reason for that. And the reason is that is the Norwegian year of independence. Norway is a very old country. It has existed in some shape or form since like the 700s, 800s AD. It's very, very, very old, and at the same time, very new. It became part of the Kingdom of Denmark in the 1300s and remained that up until 1814, when it was kind of Norway used the kind of destruction of the Napoleonic Wars to declare themselves independent and write a constitution, and then just immediately was forced into union with Sweden. And that union lasted until 1905, when we almost had a really dramatic, bloody war for independence again, but because of really talented diplomats and very understanding politicians and royals, we managed to kind of part as friends. So Norway became independent, got its own royal family, its own prime minister, and so 1905 is a really important year in Norway. And then it was like 35 years, and then the Germans invaded during World War II. So we haven't yet had 100 years of unbroken independence in Norway yet, since the 1300s. So I loved kind of the focus of the 1905 though, and thought, especially since we are going to a ball in Sweden, it'd be fun to be like coming as the kind of new independent woman / country that we were in 1905. I have looked around for inspiration, because I will need, first of all, I will need a ball gown. And I think I've looked at a lot of ball gowns online. A lot of them seem to be some sort of solid colour and then some kind of more sheer embroidered or bejeweled in some way fabric on top, or lace sometimes, but I don't think I want to be doing lace now, because I would really like to make like a proper lingerie dress one day. So I'll save the lace for then. So I think I would like to make my ball gown one of those kind of sheer net affairs, but with a solid colour underneath. And because I am secretly very goth, I would love it to be red and black. I did intend it to be black and some other colour, because I feel like I do red and black so much, but it's because I love it. But then I discovered this dress, which is not a ball gown at all, but it's a Norwegian dress. It's from circa 1905, and I just loved it. And I thought, well, if I make like an underdress that I can wear under my ball gown, then I could also just make like a bodice, and then I have a ball gown and a day gown or day dress, which would be really nice. And I was like, well, that would be so cool, but there's no way I would find actual historical kind of separate underdress sort of thing. Well, would you know, there is a historical underdress sort of thing. I have discovered the princess petticoat, and it's called the princess petticoat because it has princess seams, I think, but it's basically a petticoat, a bodiced petticoat, and they were used in the late 1800s and early 1900s. So I thought I can make one of those in red. I can make the sheer net dress to go on top, and then I can make bodice to wear with the princess petticoat, and suddenly I have 2 outfits for less work. Not no work, but slightly less work. Maybe I'm kind of setting myself up for kind of hidden work, but we'll see. I have got some fabric, some red cotton satin. I got a microphone for my birthday, and I'm not used to wearing it yet, so I keep banging it. I'm very sorry about that. But yes, I have fabric, I have a bodice block, I have the petticoat pattern that I made in the winter. I'll link that somewhere around here. I think it's time to make a mock-up. Want to come along? So the first thing I did was I made a mock-up. I only made a mock-up of the kind of bodice part since my petticoat pattern works so well. I made sure that the seams on the bodice matched the seams on the petticoat, and I had to take it in a little bit at the waist because this is not made for me wearing a corset. It's made for me without a corset. So that had to be adjusted for. I also adjusted the neckline a little bit to make it lower and square. When I was happy with the pattern, I laid the patterns out on the fabric and cut them out. I gave myself a little more length just to avoid the white petticoat kind of peeking out underneath. I then went in and overlocked or zigzagged all the edges. I also made the buttonholes in the back first, and also a back placket. I then went and stitched all the seams and pressed those. For the arm size, I just folded everything in twice and stitched it down. I wanted the drawstring around the neckline just to make sure that it's laying kind of snug towards my skin. And I made that by using just a regular bias tape, stitching that on, folding it in, and stitching it down. For the hem, I really wanted it to kind of stand out a little bit, to have a little bit of stiffness to it, but I didn't want to use tarlatans, so I ended up using some very hard, very stiff, very kind of coarse linen fabric that I had lying around. I stitched that onto the hem. I folded it in and stitched it down, and then I folded the top edge of that strip of linen down and stitched that down as well. Inserting the buttons was next. The original has loads of trim, loads of crocheted or tattered trim, white, like little white bubbles all around. And I've been looking for that sort of trim and I just have not been able to find it. So when I got a new sewing machine for my birthday, I realized that that machine has a stitch, an embroidery stitch that is very similar to that trim. So I went in and just stitched that trim onto the hem of the skirt. And with that done, it was time to take my dress for a little spin in the garden in my underwear.